Everybody, Remy's here. Round of applause, everyone, for Remy. He
Hi.
is here.
I've been told there are people out there. Hello.
What is going
Hi.
on?
What's
Remy.
up? Oh my gosh, you're so kind. Oh my gosh. I've always wanted this.
Oh, Remy, welcome. Finally, I've got you here.
Yeah, man, after a while.
Welcome, guys. One last time, guys. Remy.
Oh God,
Remy
come
the
on. Stop it. Oh, you're being so nice. Especially you, right there, you.
Oh, man. Guys,
Oh, God.
this is the last episode of the year. 2024 was a good year for me. Thank you. Just real quick, shout out to everybody that was on here. And here he is, Remy. Instagram, 806. And I guess Facebook. I don't even talk to you how much. Remy, how you doing?
I'm okay, man. I feel like exhausted, but not like,
So am I.
you know, like it's like one of those where you feel like you're doing a bunch of stuff and not doing anything all at the same time.
Yeah.
That's what this year's felt like. Like it's been like I've done a lot, but it's like I'm on a treadmill or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, I'm good. Yeah,
You're good.
I'm doing okay.
You're here, Remy.
I am
I'm
here.
very excited for you to be here, man. And I think a lot of people are excited for you to be here.
Oh well, you think that? I don't know.
I heard good things about you every single time.
Oh,
When I bring up the
that's
word
nice.
Remy.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's really nice of people. I don't know. I mean, yeah, that's really kind. For me, it's one of those like, you know, I moved here in 2020 and I'd been playing here before that, but I still kind of feel like a transplant here. So when people like know who I am and are nice, and that's really interesting because it's like, oh, I kind of belong here, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's still like kind of foreign to me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So, Remy, I just wanted to ask you. So, let's start from the very beginning.
Okay.
You said you moved here. When did you move here? Are you from here?
So I grew up in Borger.
Really?
So that's like 45 minutes northeast of here.
Okay.
I was born in Bakersfield, which I'll talk about that a little bit. I was adopted, and my parents brought me over to Texas when I was a baby, and kind of early childhood was in Lubbock. My parents split up, and my mom and I moved up to like Fritchburger area.
Okay.
And I pretty much grew up there until I was 28, 29.
Okay.
And yeah, just that's where I cut my teeth and figured out how to be a person. And then, yeah, I moved here November of 2020. So it was like right in the middle of the pandemic I moved here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So, I mean, I'd been driving over here for about 2 years or so playing music. But, yeah, I was still living in Borger. And then just, you know, over the course of sort of different life events happening, I was like, oh, I don't really have a whole lot here in Borger anymore to stay here for.
Yeah.
So I made the jump and I moved here. So, yeah. And then I've been here about 4 years now.
Oh, wow. Okay. For some reason, I'm like, oh, I've lived in California my whole life or something. That's what I thought.
No. I like to bring up that I'm from California, but if I play out that story, I was only there for a couple weeks.
Oh, were you?
As a baby.
Oh,
yeah.
so
My biological mother is from Bakersfield,
Okay.
and then she put me up for adoption even before I was born. And so my parents and my biological mother were working out all the details even before I was born and bringing me to Texas.
Oh.
So I was born in Bakersfield. I spent about a week or two there in the hospital, and then my parents brought me home to Texas.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Wow, I did not know that. That part I didn't know. Okay.
yeah, so I keep in touch with my biological mother now, and we reconnected in my 20s, and I go out and visit family out there now.
Okay.
But for a long time, I didn't really know where she was at, and I knew I was adopted. My parents told me pretty early.
Oh, did they?
I was like 3 or 4, and my parents were already telling me like, "Hey, you're adopted. There's this lady who gave birth to you, and she's out there somewhere." And then as the internet just kind of advanced, it made it a lot easier to find people.
Yeah.
And so I found her. I was probably about 20. And I was like, "I think you're my mom." And she was like, "Yeah, I am your mom." And I was like, "Cool.
Wow.
You want to come out and visit?" And she flew me out, and
Wow.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it was really cool. But I mean, you know, my parents are my parents, and they still both mean a lot to me. But I got lucky. I have another sort of parent in California, which is cool too.
That is cool, man.
Yeah.
Is that a good idea to tell people that early that you're adopted? Would you recommend that?
I think so. I think at some point you probably should.
Yeah.
So I mean, there are probably arguments for not for doing it, but I think that the weight of if you don't tell a kid that they're adopted and they go their whole life thinking that their parents are their biological parents, and then something crazy, say like an aunt or an uncle or somebody else who knows the truth, tells you like those people aren't your blood. Just as a grown adult, you've lived your whole life knowing that, and then you find out they're not. I can't imagine the identity crisis that you would have with that.
Yeah.
So I was really fortunate that I knew that, because then I kind of learned like, oh, family and people who are important to you, you don't necessarily have to be blood related to them.
Yep.
So it helped me not. There are certain things I could have probably made pretty precious that weren't important, like the idea of having biological children, or the idea of like, you know, it opened me up to care for whoever I want to care for, you know, because like if it was just like, there's that whole idea of like, well, you're supposed to love your blood. You know what I mean? It's like, well, yeah, but like the people who raised me aren't my blood, and I love them almost probably more deeply than some people who I'm blood related to, you know? But some of that's just because I don't know who I know who he is, my dad, but I've never met him.
Okay.
And, you know, I can't say that I love him more than my dad I grew up with.
Yeah.
Because I don't know the guy.
Yeah.
And he's blood. He's somewhere out in California. And I don't know any bad things about him. He might be an all right guy, but I've just never met him. But I know Sammy, my dad, who I grew up with. I care about him more than a lot of people, you know, and I'm not blood related to him. So I guess like, yeah, I guess it's, you know, it's probably not it's up to whoever wants. If you adopt a kid and you don't tell them, fine, I'm not going to judge you for it. But I think I was really grateful because I knew who I was then. I didn't have this weird like, oh no, who am I? You know.
Okay. That makes sense, man. That's good though, man. I didn't know you were adopted though. I really didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wow.
When you look at my parents I grew up with too, you wouldn't know. We look alike. It's crazy. Like my dad and we look so much alike, and they're like, oh, he looks just like you. It's like, okay. Sure.
So now, so now that you lived in Borger, Texas, Borger, I keep getting Borger and Pampa confused because
they're the same.
Are they oil towns too?
Borger's an oil town. I don't know about Pampa.
Okay.
I don't know much about Pampa other than that they were like our rivals in high school.
Oh, were they?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
and I have homies. Oh, I have this like weird hair that's just like, there we go. Maybe, I don't know.
Hey, were you in sports growing up at all?
No. I did all the arts.
Okay. Oh,
yeah.
Right. No one. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, so
very
I did.
Talented.
Yeah,
very talented.
that's very nice of you to say. No, yeah, I did band and choir and theater, and
those are my favorites too.
Oh, dude, yeah, that was like all me. I did all of it. Theater was such a huge part of my life, and
Theater.
oh, dude, yeah, I loved doing plays. I loved acting. The jobs I have now, if I didn't have the stuff I was doing right now, I keep seeing auditions for the Little Theater, and I'd love to get back into doing stuff like that, or like working with CJ on her films. Like there's that was my plan before I started playing music. Was I was going to go to school and try to be an actor. And then I realized I don't know what I realized. I think I probably just was like music became pretty pivotal, and like it became my job for a while, like full time, but in like a non-conventional way. But yeah, no, Pampa and Borger, you know, the bands, we were cool with each other, but the football teams hated each other. So,
oh man, I don't know. I've always been that way. I like sports, like football, soccer.
Sure.
I love it all, but I like band, bro. I love music. I like the orchestra, bro. I like plays. I like it all. I don't have anyone to go with. You know what I mean? Like I've always wanted to go downtown to those orchestra stuff that they do.
Yeah.
I just don't have no one to go. So
oh man, the next time that we try to go, I'll let you know. So my drummer for Native Crowds, he's He's currently playing at the Amarillo Little Theater. He's in the pit playing drums for the Christmas Story musical.
Oh, nice.
But he also does some stuff with the symphony. Like he'll do, they do that like, I think it's like that 4th of July thing out at Hodgetown, and they'll have the Amarillo Symphony Orchestra out there play, and he'll play on that sometimes. Because BJ, that's my drummer, he went to school for music.
Yeah,
so so he's really talented, and he does a lot of like the the nerdy side of music, you know.
Yeah.
But sports were one of those things that, like, as I've gotten older, it's one of those things that I like to, my dad and we don't talk about it a whole lot, but like he's, in Lubbock. So for him, he's got to be a Texas, like a Red Raiders fan. And so we'll talk about them. And I try to keep up with stuff like that. But, I'm not like, I don't have like a team. If a logo is appealing to me, that's what makes me like a team.
Favorite.
Yeah. Like, dude, the San Francisco Giants, the baseball team.
I want to see now.
It's super simple. It's so silly, but it's just the orange SF is so appealing to me.
Oh, okay.
Also, I think it's because my mom is in San Francisco, like my biological mother.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of that team, mostly because their hats are cool. I don't even like orange, dude. Like, that's the thing. Orange is like, it used to be like when I was a kid, I would match my outfits so much. There was one outfit I had in like, I think I was like 10, and it was an orange t-shirt, some burnt orange zip off, like they zipped off at the knee pants, some brown DC shoes with brown socks, and the logo was orange, and an orange. I looked like an old orange, like fruit is what I looked like. And I don't know why my mom let me do that, but now I can't stand orange. Is like my least favorite color. But that logo, man, San Francisco Giants, I dig that a lot.
Yeah. Hey, Remy, so now, you know how you said you like the music and all that? Mm-hmm. What got you into playing guitar?
Yeah, so guitar. So I did church a whole lot when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And my mom, because it was just me and my mom, my parents split when I was 5. So my mom was like trying to find stuff for me to do. Mm-hmm. And so she would send me to different like church things. And I wound up at this church in Borger when I was like 12 or 13. I just kept going. And then when I was about 14, this guy at the church asked me, the youth pastor, he asked me if I'd want to learn like church songs. And I had already been asking for a guitar before that, but it wasn't like it was like what most kids that are like into music, they ask like, oh, can I get a guitar? And then they don't ever touch it. They play it for like 3 months and then it's gone. Yeah. Like my partner, her kiddo, she was asking for a guitar last year, and I wanted to get her one, but I'm also like, she has ADHD like crazy. And it was one of those, like, I want to see if she actually really wants to do it. I have guitars in my house. She can play any of them if she wants. Yeah. And if she gets into that, then yeah, I'll get her one. But anyway, so when I was 14, this dude asked me if I'd want to learn some songs and play in the praise team or whatever. Yeah. And my mom and my dad both got me this guitar, and I just started learning chords trying to teach myself just really simple chords. And I picked it up, and these girls in the group and I'd play and they would sing, and I just kept doing that to the point where like I got pretty good at it. And this other church asked me to come like play bass for them, and I had learned enough to go play bass for them when I was like 16. And then I just kind of was hopping around churches doing music stuff in Borger, wherever they'd let me, and just kept learning acoustic and I was trying to learn punk rock, and I was trying to learn worship tunes. And so I had this like weird world of like Christian music and then just like, punk rock stuff. And then I just kept doing all that. I had a band in high school, and it was okay, but
I did too.
Oh gosh, yeah. So it's like you think you're doing something cool, and it wasn't like, it was like fun, and I feel like there was some stuff I'd written that was really funny, but and it was good for a 17-year-old. But eventually, I landed at this church in Borger when I was just like, I just graduated, and they were asking me to help in the youth group. And then eventually, like, they had me start doing music for their like main service. And then when I was about 20, they like, I'd gone to Frank Phillips for 2 years. I was gonna do, I don't remember what I was gonna do. I think I was gonna, I was a sociology major, but I was gonna eventually go somewhere else and try to do like theater arts or music. Yeah. I was just sticking around town because my original plan was I was gonna go to Australia and go to the school there. Yeah. And it never worked out because when I turned 20, the church offered me a full-time paid internship at their church. And so I took that job and stayed as an intern for a year. Then they offered me a position as like worship pastor, basically. And I stayed. I was on staff there. They hired me in the same year I got married. And then I worked there until 2018 as a worship pastor. Mm-hmm. And midway through that job, I also took over youth. So I was a worship and youth pastor at a church for altogether probably about 10 years. Wow. So most of my 20s was working in ministry.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that at all. Like at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's what got me like churches. And that's sort of like, that's a lot of people here when you talk to people in this area. Yeah, like that's a lot of it's me like, too. Oh, dude, I started doing stuff in church and then I kept doing it. Yep. And that's what it was. It was just, I got a lot of training on how to play in a band, and particularly how to play in a band with people who are into different kinds of music, different skill levels. And as like, I was like a 22-year-old kid trying to tell, I was the youngest dude on the team, and I was like leading all these like, to me, were like full-grown adults, trying to tell them like what not to do and what to do. And it was really great training, and I really, enjoyed it. Yeah. And, I was married at the time, and my wife and I were doing all that stuff together, or my ex-wife. And yeah, it was fun, and it helped me, kind of hone in how to lead a band and how to lead rehearsals. And I carry that over with how I run Native Crowds now too. Okay.
That's cool, man.
And
yeah. I remember you played a song called From Amberlin. I remember when I first saw Native Crowds at the 806. I was like, hey, that's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? So now that's where I was gonna get at now. So now, what brought you into the 806? 806 coffee shop? What kind of how did you, I'm sure you moved over here, so how did you get introduced over there? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So with that, that's a great segue, because so in 2015, my mom passes away.
Okay, no, I'm sorry about that, man.
Well, thanks. So that was really tough, and that was like the first really big thing that was like devastating in my life. And so I'm working in the church, that happens, and then the following year the church was kind of like, well, we can't continue to pay you, so we have to let you go. Oh, wow. So I get fired in 2016. Oh, wow. But I still stick around and I help, and because I really cared about that place. Yeah. And then in 2017, my then wife at the time, and these all happened like in the fall of their corresponding year. So like fall 2015, mom, fall 2016, the church, lets me go. And then fall of 2017, my then wife tells me she wants a divorce. She wants to leave. And there were a lot of things that were going on in both of our lives. We were 20 and 21 when we got married. We were kids. And I think she didn't know who she was, and I wasn't doing any work on who I was. And I was putting all that weight on her, and she got tired. So 2017, she leaves. I start writing music. It was the first time I'd ever written anything, was in 2017. So I'm writing all these songs that wind up on the first Native Crowds EP. And I'm just trying to find stuff to do. Yeah. And I see an open mic in January of 2018 at 806. And so I go there and play these songs that I've written. And At the time, Thomas was still hosting, and Thomas comes up to me and says, "Hey, Jason, the owner, he wants you to come back next week and audition for the Valentine's show."
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, where was that at? Oh,
At 806.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I come back the next week. I drive back in Amarillo the next week, and Thomas was like, "It's all originals, like no covers, just play all your." So I was like, "Well, I gotta finish some of these songs," and so I finished up a song, and I played a set of all originals. And Jason comes up to me, he's like, "Yeah, we're doing this like 10th anniversary Valentine's show.
Nice.
It's a big deal. We're getting like a limo for all the performers. We're doing all this stuff,
that's
like
cool.
sort of like red carpet thing." And so that was like my third time to play 806 was this Valentine's show.
Okay.
And it was with like there was a couple of like burlesque performers that aren't here anymore. They've moved away, but a couple DJs and some other players. And yeah, I think I just started doing more open mics and playing there as much as I can, you know. And but it was just I had just started writing this music for for what would become native crowds, and I needed an avenue to play it. And the 806 was the easiest place to get in to do it.
Okay.
And it wasn't a bar, so I was like, at that point I hadn't been really like drinking. I wasn't going out a whole lot, and so a coffee shop was like, this is comfortable. You know, I'd just come out of the church scene really, and I'm just like, this is my speed. And then I've just like honestly haven't really left since then.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. And then how'd you become host? Like, how'd that work out though?
Well, so that's I don't know. I mean, I think I'd kept going so much and trying to help Thomas when I could, as far as like sound stuff, and because I'd been doing sound engineering at the church as well as my job. And then it just like at one point, Jason decided, like, because I think they were doing just the second and fourth Wednesdays for a long time with Thomas.
Okay.
And then at some point, Jason was like, "I think we want to add a third week. We're thinking about doing a music one. Would you want to host that?"
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so for like a year, I was just doing the music one on the third Wednesday. So sort of what like Roman's doing now with the Thursdays.
Yes.
I was doing that with just the third Wednesdays and just doing music. And then Thomas was over the other ones.
Oh, wow.
And then some stuff between the venue and Thomas and all of that. It whatever went down there, like it came down to where Jason asked me like, "Hey, I think we're going to go a different direction with hosts. Would you want to do all of them?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, sure. I like this place, and it's a great place for people to feel comfortable enough to come and create and show what they've made." And I like that. I've always really liked that. I mean, when I was working in the church, the thing I really, really liked was like being able to like teach. I would teach my students how to play music to the point where they could start playing in the band with us. Mm-hmm. So I would like be training youth group kids how to play guitar or bass, and then give it about a year, and then they're playing in the service with us on Sundays, and watching young people like sort of flourish and learn how to do this thing that I've grown up loving has been really cool. So when I get to see like people like Benny, you know, not that I've taught Benny anything, but like to see these people who are younger than me come into a place and feel comfortable enough to like bring the stuff they've created. And if I can be some sort of facilitator for that, to see people like Benny like flourish and like actually, I watched Benny go from like someone who's like, "I have a couple songs," to like someone who's like, "No, I want to be a musician." You know, that's really cool. And she was going to do that regardless of whether or not I was there. But if I could have provided a space to kind of help that, I'm super grateful and appreciative of that. And I've seen that multiple times with different people. You know, Tia Marie's another one, which I didn't teach Tia anything, but Tia is another one of those that like had I not been doing the open mic and providing, you know, I wouldn't have seen her. And now I've seen she's doing awesome stuff too. And there's just all sorts of people out there that are doing really cool things. And I've gotten to be a part of it in a really roundabout, like passive way, which is cool. Yeah. But it all kind of came from just Jason asking if I'd do it. And I was like, yeah, sure.
Oh, okay. I always heard good things about you when you were hosting open mic, and I remember like, oh, you've made it into a safe space, and
Yeah.
So I don't know much all about that, but I heard a lot of good things that you've done out there. So
Well,
thank you.
yeah.
Everyone loves it.
I hope so. It's one of those things that I feel lucky to be a part of it for sure.
Yeah. So now, since you've been doing that, how did you? What else I say? What brought you into native crowds? Is what I mean. Like, how did that start?
Yeah. So part of that is, like I said, I just started writing these songs to kind of process my divorce, and I had always wanted to write music, but I could never make it happen. And then I just had oh shoot, I just accidentally kicked that. Let's make sure.
No, you're good. Man.
You good?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
good.
Okay. No, you're good. I had just I'd had a devastating enough thing happen to me that stuff started kind of coming out. And so I started writing, and I knew I didn't want to just go by my name. I didn't want it to be like Remy, or like at that point I was still going by like Jeremy Delara. I didn't want to go just do that. So I was like trying to come up with like a name, like a moniker to have. And a lot of the bands I really look up to, the Almost. I'm wearing the Rocket Summer is another one.
The band? The Almost?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. With
Yeah.
Aaron Gillespie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Aaron Gillespie. So that first record, the Southern Weather record, is all just him.
Yeah, that's right.
So he's did all the drums, all the guitars, all of that stuff. The Rocket Summer is another one that it's all Bryce. Say Anything is mostly Max and Kobe for those first 3 records. And so in my mind, when I started Native Crowds, I was like, okay, this is like those things. So Native Crowds is me. And then when we go and play stuff, like if I go out and play shows, I'm going to have guys come in and play the stuff I've written. But the original goal was to write and do everything. And so I just started doing that. And I needed to find a name. And I went between, originally I thought about calling it Bakersfield. I thought about calling the band Cryin' Wilson as like a play on Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
And then I just sort of landed on Native Crowds because it didn't exist anywhere on social media. So the social media handles were free to take. And I needed an avenue to process all of my heartbreak, and it worked out that those first few songs I wrote were pretty good and people resonated with them, and it emboldened me to keep making music,
Yeah.
And so I think like Find Yourself was like the first song I ever played for people, and a lot of people kept asking me when I first played it back in 2018, like, is that out anywhere? Because it was just like, Find Yourself is this song it's obviously about my ex-wife. And, people really liked it. And I got really lucky too, after everything that happened to me, put me in the hospital, which we can talk about that or we cannot. It's whatever you want to do, and we can get to that later. But when I got out of the hospital, I went back and played some music in Borger in 2019. And my first show back was at this coffee shop in Borger. And everyone came out to it.
Nice.
And it was like a showcase of artists, and I was just one of them on it. And my ex-wife was there.
Okay. Oh,
and all of our friends, like, that was the tough thing, is like we both had the same friends. Yeah. So when we split, like, our friends didn't know what to do. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So but we all stayed friends, and I remember I was like, I think I'm gonna cut this song. I told one of our friends that. And he turned around and he told my ex-wife. And so she pulled me aside before I went up. And she was like, are you cutting that song? I'm checking what time it is because I'm seeing if we're 5 minutes in. I think we're 5 minutes
Yeah,
in.
go ahead. Dude,
Cool,
we're way past that.
So she looked at me and she's like, I heard you're cutting a song. I was like, yeah, it's just, I didn't want it to be awkward. And she was like, play the fucking song.
This is your ex-wife or your wife?
My ex-wife.
After
my ex-wife,
okay.
after we've split.
And yes, okay.
So, so I'm like, I don't know if I can play the song in front of her. And she looked at me, she's like, play the fucking song. So I played it. And after the show, she came up to me and she apologized. She was just like, "I'm so sorry that I made you feel that way."
Oh, okay.
And I was just like, oh, man. And I got really lucky with, because I know a lot of folks who've split up, and it was never pretty. And, you know, my ex and I, we split up our divorce was final in May of 2018. And then I wound up in the hospital in September.
Okay. So we'll get to that. I feel like you want to talk about it.
I don't, yeah, and we can, I can keep it brief. But the point is like, everything that all of this stuff and who I am now is so surrounded by like who I was before I wound up in the hospital and who I am after. But she came to the hospital and we buried the hatchet and we worked through a lot of stuff there. And so our friendship sort of was repaired even though our marriage ended, which has been really nice. You know, like obviously we don't talk a whole lot now, but you know, it was, you know, we were cordial and friendly, and so she was able to come to shows, and she actually brought her partner now, who she's got one kid and one on the way with. They came to one of our full band shows at Golden Light one time, which was pretty cool too. Yeah. But that's all just because like when you almost die, you kind of realize there are a lot of things that don't matter. Yeah. You're just like, oh, my marriage ended. Okay. Marriages end, dude. Yeah. Like, what are we talking about here? Yeah. But yeah, anyway, point is, Native Crowds sort of came from all of that and then has just kind of continued. Okay. So,
hey, real quick, let's go to break and then we'll thank our sponsors. Yeah. No, I don't have sponsors. And we're not going to thank our sponsors. I don't have sponsors. Anyways, we'll take a break. Quick break. Where'd the fans go?
I ran them all off. I got too sad. That's what happened.
All right, man. So next year, I'm gonna try to push for some sponsors next year. I know I've been like, here we're gonna sponsor. Yeah. I'm hoping next year I can local sponsors and see what we can do from there. Mm-hmm. So Remy, okay, so we got into your background. That's kind of interesting though, because I think everybody had a religious, a church background. I think everyone.
Yeah, around here it's a lot more common.
Yeah, but no. So now that we've got that out of the way, so you're a musician. You've been doing this for years, and again, dude, everyone loves you, man. We're really happy for you. We love you, Remy. Now, you said, and I didn't know you were married, to be honest. So now you didn't have kids with this person, did you? You didn't.
No.
So now I guess you do want to bring it up. So okay, I'm not gonna ask specifically. I don't even know how to ask. Go ahead and just tell me.
I can just tell you a story really quick. Yeah, that's probably the easiest way, and then we can dig in as deeply as we want to. Or
I'll let you do that. Yeah, I did tell you off screen about pasts. Like I said, I don't really like bringing other people's. How do I explain it? I just don't like. I just don't like bringing.
You don't want to stir all that stuff up.
I don't like bringing people's trauma. Yeah. Because it's none of my business, and two, I don't want people to oh my gosh, start to remember, because that's how I get with my dad. Yeah. And I just don't want to be that person. But there are people that are open to it, and it's fine. Yeah. So if you're okay with it, go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah, I don't mind at all. I think that's part of my story. It's part of is sort of informed how I make music now. Yeah. But I mean, it is like one of those, I guess like if you're watching at home, like it has to do with like domestic violence and a lot of stuff like that. So if that's triggering for you, I'm sure Brian will figure out a timestamp of when you can fast forward through this and it'll be fine. Yeah. But I'll try to keep it pretty succinct. So like when I lived a lot of life in my 20s, man. So I was married and I had this whole career and all this stuff, man.
How old were you when you married?
I got married when I was 21.
21. And how old was that person?
She was 20.
She was 20. Okay.
So we were babies. Yeah. And we we had been dating in high school, and so we had been together, probably a decade, but we'd been married for about 7 years. Okay. So that whole thing, all that stuff happened. My mom passes away. I lose my job, and then my ex-wife is like, "Hey, I want to leave." I was like, "Okay, great, cool, that's awesome." And so I'm processing all that, and I meet this person who we become really great friends. Her name is Julianne, and Julianne was going through her own like really difficult stuff in her life, and I had known Julie for a little, I'd known of her because we're both from Borger. Yeah. And so we just kind of like started chatting and sharing music, and eventually we would hang out, and I'd hang out with some of her friends, and we would just, we were both kind of just like supporting each other through the stuff we were going through. She'd gotten really sick in the beginning of the year, and or end of the year before, and she was going through some stuff with her the person she was with, and so we were just kind of supporting each other. She had called me on like Valentine's that year, and she knew I was going through this divorce, and she was just like, "I'm so sorry that you're going through this. You don't deserve this kind of heartbreak." And she was dealing with her own stuff, and so yeah, so we were just kind of our friendship was flourishing through that year, and just kind of helping each other get through the year, and she taught me a lot about perseverance and strength, and facing grief and painful stuff, and realizing it's not permanent. And then as the months go by, it becomes pretty evident that the partner she's with, he's emotionally and mentally abusive to her. I find out later that he was also physically abusive early on in their relationship.
Yeah.
And he's like a sociopath, so he's like really good at hiding that he was a bad person.
Yeah.
But it just became more and more evident that that was the kind of guy that he was, and she started taking steps to get out of it. Mm-hmm. And there were a couple of us trying to be supportive of that and be there for her and help her. And it was me and a couple other of her friends. And in September, early September, she was just like, "Yeah, I'm out. I don't want to be in this anymore." And he wasn't very happy about that. But he was like pretending like he was. Uh-huh. And it was like September 13th, 14th. She had come to my first show as Native Crowds earlier that month. My first show was like August 31st, September 1st as Native Crowds with the band. And she was at that show, and then we just kind of kept hanging out, and she and I were going to this play, and he had this big blow up on her the day before, and the police said that they couldn't really do anything because he hadn't hurt her. And so it's just kind of off doing whatever. And he showed up the next day and pretended to apologize, and then later that night showed up and attacked us. And he had a blade, and he injured me pretty heavily, and I couldn't use my right arm, and I had this huge injury in my back. And then and he actually he took my friend's life that night. And yeah, it was crazy, man. Like, it was just like one of those things that I got really lucky because there were some people at the apartments. This was like really late at night. It was like in the middle of the night. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning.
What year was this?
2018.
2018.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and the neighbors. There was this lady downstairs and this dude across the hall who found us and called the ambulance, and I was really lucky those folks showed up, because if not, I wouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. The guy, after he did everything, he took my phone and ran off, and Julie was gone. Mm-hmm. On the scene. Yeah. He made sure of that, and he thought I was like on my way out. I was in shock and pretty out of it, and the ambulance showed up and got me in the hospital and did a bunch of surgeries, and I was in the hospital for like 10 days. Wow. With bunch of stitches in my right arm, and they had to do a bunch of surgeries to the muscles in my wrist, and they took a nerve out of my arm and like up here, and they put it in my wrist, and they did a bunch of stuff. I was on oxygen, my lung collapsed, like all this stuff, man. And for those 10 days, I was newly divorced. I had isolated from all of my friends and my family, and I was just like really hanging out with Julie, and and then my coworkers kind of knew my life too. I was working at a pizzeria and burger at the time. But all my friends and family, I'd sort of just shut out. Yeah. And then I wound up in a hospital for 10 days and I couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And so all these people start showing up that I've been trying to avoid.
Yeah.
My ex-wife was actually the person who, as they were rolling me into the emergency room, the only phone number I could remember was my ex-wife.
Yeah.
So they had to call my ex-wife at like 3 a.m. and say, hey, are you so-and-so? Jeremy Delara is in the hospital with like life, endangering injuries.
Yeah.
And so she had to then, again, freshly divorced from me, had to like turn around and call all of our friends and family and let them know what was going on.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't in the paper. I never was in the paper, actually. They kept me as a John Doe the whole time.
Yeah.
Because when everything happened, this dude had taken off and he was still at large when they put me in the hospital. So they didn't want to put my name out there. Yeah. And all these people show up and are, they'd been worried about me for a year because just all the bad stuff that I'd been dealing with. And, man, it was wild, just dealing with, the loss of this like really important friend of mine. And, she was a really special person. And she, she cared deeply for the people she chose to care deeply for. Mm. And I just got really lucky that I was one of those people. And, on the other side of it, I've been really lucky because I got to meet her family and like her mom and her dad and her siblings, most of them. Some of them I still haven't heard from. And I'm kind of respecting their space if they want to reach out or whatever. But they've all been really kind and, it's tough, man, because you lose someone, you lose a family member like that. It's in such a traumatic way. It's heavy. Yeah. And some of the stuff that I carry is like, I don't want to be this really sad reminder that their sister's gone or their daughter's gone. Yeah. But I also want to be whatever I need them, whatever they need me to be for them. I want to be that. If they need help with something, I'm at their beck and call, whatever they need from me. I owe them that now. Yeah. Not that I did anything. This guy did all that stuff, but it's been crazy, but it gave me this like really interesting perspective because before all of that happened, the worst thing that I could think of was that my marriage was over. Yeah. I got divorced. Oh, Yeah. But when you're like, I legit that night, I was just sitting, I got left in one room and my friend is in the other. And I'm just like, I'm on my way out. I'm like, the lights are dimming. And I remember thinking like, man, this is it. Mm-hmm. This is all the life I'm going to get to live. Yeah. And then I get an opportunity to keep living. Yeah. I get lucky. Yeah. And that changed a lot of things for me, because it's like, oh, dude, like I've learned not to be so precious about certain things. Mm-hmm. And I've learned like, oh yeah, my marriage ended, but stuff like that happens all the time. I'm still breathing. She's still breathing and she's thriving in her life. And I got lucky enough that, it took a couple years of some really dark alcohol-induced times after the hospital. But I got really lucky I found my partner and Michelle and I are, I couldn't be more happy now, and, but it's one of those things where, dude, my divorce would have devastated me forever if I hadn't had this really traumatic thing happen to me. Yeah. And so for that, I'm grateful. I'm not grateful that my friend's gone. Mm-hmm. I miss her a lot. But man, the stuff she taught me just with her, she was a tenacious person and she was just like, she understood. We both had that feeling of like, I don't want to die, but I don't really want to be here right now. Yeah. But for her, she was like, that's how I feel. But despite that, I'm going to live my life I'm going to get past this dark time that I'm in right now. It will come and go, and something better is down the line. Yeah. And, whatever you believe about the afterlife, I think despite the tragic and traumatic thing that happened to her, I have to hope that she did. She got things were really tough in our lives, and she's on to a better thing now. Yeah. It's not what we hoped for or looked at or thought it was going to look like, but that's my hope. And while I'm here, I have this breath that's in my chest that isn't just mine, but it's hers. And so now it's like I want to try to like live my life as tenaciously as she did, and as like open as she lived, in this idea of like, even when things are really difficult, like, dude, like something could be down the line that if I gave up right now, I would miss out on that thing. And I have evidence of that for my life, because Michelle and her kids and the life I have with my partner right now, if I had given up in 2021 when I wanted to, I would have missed out on that, dude. Yeah. And that's like, that's the tough thing of like, man, there's this trauma and this sadness, but there's also this great joy. And if I've learned anything, and I don't know how heavy you get in these podcasts, so I apologize for getting so man. Deep. It's but like what I found really beautiful is this being able to balance the tension of joy and sadness, and that they exist at the same time. Mm. And the sooner that I learned that, the better my life got, because I could acknowledge when I'm sad, but also feel great joy. And I didn't have to like, if I was feeling really down about a thing, before I learned what I learned through Julie, I would have been completely against feeling any amount of joy. I was like, no, I'm sad right now, and that's all I'm allowed to feel. Mm. But you're allowed to feel the entire gamut of emotions all at once if you want. Yeah. You can be angry, sad, and happy all at the same time. It's totally fine. You're not crazy for feeling that way. Now, if you need to focus on the sadness, sure. But it's more complex than that. And so, it sucks that my friend is gone. And like I said, I miss her a lot. But I am very grateful that I'm still here. And when it comes to like the band stuff, I had to like relearn how to play guitar. And I didn't think I'd ever do that again. And it took me 6 months to a year to finally get to a place where I felt comfortable enough to play. And, but I'm I can't play how I used to, and that sucks. Yeah. But, I feel like I'm trying to just do my best.
Whatever happened to the guy?
Yeah. So they caught him. Luckily they caught him, the next night, I think. He was in New Mexico, and they brought him back, and he's locked up. He got life, with the possibility of parole after like 30 years. Okay. But he's also like, he's not all there, so I think that might be difficult for him. But I don't know. Okay. But yeah, he got locked up. Yeah. Fortunately, it didn't go to trial, which was nice, because I wouldn't, I'm sure they were going to try to drag my friend's name through the mud to justify his actions. So, which at the end of the day, taking someone's life, I have a really hard time justifying it. Yeah. I can understand, you know what I mean? Like, for instance, like, we can get topical, but like the CEO in New York, you know what I mean? Yeah. The stuff with Luigi, right? Which is such a fucking hilarious name. Luigi. Yes. No. I'm trying to get out of this dark hole that we're in.
I got you.
Yeah, thank you. But like, even with like that CEO guy, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want people to kill people. No. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or let me say it differently so you can cut that.
No, you can. No, it's fine.
Good. Okay. That's fine. I don't want people to take other people's lives, but I can understand someone feeling so angry that they would do something like that.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where, you know, I don't know. I'm very grateful, all that to say, and I'm glad that he's locked up, and you know, I'm gonna live my life as fully as I can, and almost to sort of spite him, because he tried to take me out,
Yeah.
and he didn't. And the spiritual person of me that likes to try to find a reason for everything, you know, because when you hear like in church rooms, they're like, oh, God, you know, God works, does everything for a reason. I don't know if I believe that so much anymore, because if that were the case, I cannot find a reason to justify this awful thing that happened to me. But at the same time, I do think that the human and the spiritual does a really wonderful thing in figuring out how to make the best out of things that are painful. Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to do. Okay. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I do appreciate you being here, though, Remy.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you for telling me about that.
Yeah, sure.
I've heard clips and pieces,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like, I don't know if I want to know anything. But I mean, since you're okay with me telling me, it's fine. I appreciate you.
Yeah, the always the fear with it is like it gets heavy. I had some kids come up to me a couple weeks ago at open mic and ask me, you know, what happened to my hand, because they tried to shake my hand, and I can't. I don't have feeling in my right hand. So still.
You cannot do this at all, huh?
I can do this,
okay,
and I can close my hand. Oh. But if I do like that, I'm doing the same thing with my hand right now.
Okay. Oh, okay. But
so I can't open.
But could you force it, or would that?
I can force it open. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But can it stay or no?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
no.
okay.
See, I have none of these muscles do anything.
Oh wow.
So I have to sometimes, like, I sit here with my hand open like this, because it's just like those muscles are so tight. But yeah, when people try to shake my hand and they ask me like, oh, what happened? I'm like, it's pretty heavy. Yeah. You really want to know. I don't mind talking about it, but you know, I know some people are kind of like, ooh, I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
No, because there's other people that have different stories that they don't like talking about.
Sure.
And I kind of feel bad, so I don't ever bring it up. You know
sure.
I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, dude. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, how do I explain it? You know, I don't want to be like, congratulations for surviving.
Sure.
I want to be more like, you know, I'm, you know, thankful for that you're here. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Here, you know what I mean? Yeah,
me too.
Because you've done a lot for the 806, and you've done a lot of I guess you've made people happy, such as myself. You know what I mean?
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that. You know, I worry sometimes that, because if anyone follows, which I'm not that active on social media that much anymore, but if anyone follows me, I have a really bad habit of, I'll write these big long posts about grief and sad things. Yeah. And I always worry that I'm like, one time my dad told me, when I was still single, he was like, you know, those really long posts that you write, mijo, like I know that you're going through some stuff, but like, I don't think there's any like woman that's going to want to be with someone that talks like that all the time. And you know, I understand where people are coming from with that, but I'm also like, yeah, but also this is part of who I am. This isn't performative. I'm not writing this set. This is what I think. And if there's a person that sees that and is like, nah, I'm not about that, it's like, they're not going to like who I am, because this is how I think about things. You know, like, I can't help but think about stuff like that all the time. Because I just think it's, to me, sometimes it's more interesting, because those negative feelings we feel, the sadness and the anger and, you know, the feelings of loss, those feelings, a lot of people, and I don't blame people for it, they're scared, or they don't want to deal with them. They want to avoid them. And you have every right. Anybody listening has every right to avoid those feelings. But it's like, sometimes you give those feelings power when you ignore them. And what I've found is that when I've confronted those feelings head on and been like, why am I feeling this way? And is this going to be forever? those things get much smaller. What felt like monsters, they're actually just super tiny, and they don't, a really heavy feeling of sadness can feel like that's all that you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what I found is when I confronted it, it became this like, it didn't define who I was anymore. It was just a part of who I am. And so that's just, if someone's not cool with me being that way, then like, I don't think that we were ever going to get along either way, like whether we were going to be friends or if we were going to be together. And I got really lucky that my partner now, she's very open to me. She's fine with me being that way. And she puts up with it, which is nice.
Do you was your dad talking about like posting all this like on Facebook and stuff like
I would do like a big paragraph, and I would have this photo, and a lot of times it'd be just like, oh, this is my thought of like what I found when like I'm grieving of this thing. These are the feelings that I experienced. And I would usually like end whatever I'm writing about with like something hopeful. Just like, like, hey, yeah, I know like if you've lost someone, that means a lot to you, and that feeling comes up. It can feel, for instance, I think I'm pretty sure I wrote, when you lose someone, it feels like the world freezes, and then at some point, it's still frozen for you, but the world starts to spin again, and that is a lonely feeling.
Yeah.
But what's really nice about the internet is that, and this is why why I've written about it, is when the world starts to spin and you're still frozen, there is this really beautiful hope, and like kind of it's a comfort, is that there's someone else on the planet that their world is frozen also. And so you're not really alone, and you're not crazy for thinking that you still need the world to freeze. And that's sort of how I ended it. It was like, yes, the world continues to move on, and you're isolated and you feel alone, and you're like, nobody's ever going to understand what I'm feeling right now in this great loss that I feel. But there is this really beautiful hope that the freezing of your own world is not permanent. It will thaw out eventually, but even if it doesn't, there is somebody else out there their world is frozen as well. And that's the beautiful thing about the human experience. A lot of that with my dad is more like he's not catching like the end of what I've written because they're long. You know what I mean? So it's like most people read sad shit, I'm out. Yeah. And they don't get to he's being encouraging. Yeah. So, but I've never been afraid of feeling those sad things. They make me feel alive. Yeah. And I think that's why I started an emo band. Like is that what yeah, it's the closest thing to describe Native Crowds is emo. It's a band. It's music not afraid to feel feelings, and some of the songs are now they're caricatures, they're exaggerations. They're telling a story about a person who maybe feels their feelings in an unhealthy way. Like the song Codependence is very much like it's a exploration of feeling too heavily for someone, and you need them, and then feeling mad when they leave. Yeah. I don't want to be that person. I'll write a song about it because I used to be that person. Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. I just, people think I think the other thing is like that would be all I'd post about. And I'm like, that's not the entirety of who I am, but I'm also like not going to shy away from being of that part of who I am. Because I am like kind of happy. I can be fun and joyful and like I can be that. But I also like don't want to use that as like I'm not a comedian. Like that's not, I've found this isn't a slam on comedians. I think it's a really beautiful defense mechanism, but humor is a really great way to protect yourself. Oh yeah. And I do it, but like I don't do it well. Comedians do it really well. There's a lot of cats here in town that do it really well. I can't imagine having this kind of conversation with about 90% of the Yellow City guys. You know what I mean? Am I wrong? Can you imagine Jacob and I having this conversation?
Oh,
You know what I mean? And I love those guys.
Yeah.
I think they're all wonderful. But like to have this kind of conversation with one of them is just like, but that's because like they have built this ability that I'm just not, I'm not able to do it like they can.
Yeah.
So
I think trauma. I think we all have it.
Yeah.
We all have different types of trauma,
and we have different ways of dealing with it.
exactly.
And I would love to be a comedian.
Yeah.
There's times I've thought about like, man, I could tell. But that's the thing, man. Like musicians and comics, like they both want to be the other. Comedians want to be rock stars. And rock stars want to be comedians.
Really?
You watch a band and the lead singer will try to tell a joke because he thinks it's funny and it bombs, right? And comedians, they love to tell jokes, but they want to be treated like rock stars.
Yeah.
And they're not. They're clowns.
Yeah.
Can we be real? Like,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like we need clowns. That's fine.
We need a circus.
Yeah. Know your role, comedians.
Yeah, dang.
Jeez.
I do want to talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
What started this and all that. No, because it was, it's because like you and Yellow City and some of the musicians out there were the reason why I started this.
Yeah.
But what had happened was at the time, I started the podcast, dude, because I just wanted to see where it led. You know what I mean? So I had a buddy named Noah. We did a lot of like, try to get conspiracies and try to just get random people and try to just work with it and see what we can do.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until April, you know what I'm saying? So I quit drinking and I quit doing other stuff, obviously. And then this is kind of when my mind started to start going the right direction. You know what I mean? Withdrawals and all this stuff. And I was like kind of looking back at the stuff I did and I'm like, man, I'm glad I stopped drinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, again, I don't drink a whole lot. I'm not an alcoholic. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I have a long line of family that drink, but it was more of those that alcohol just never made good decisions. You know what I'm saying? So I did a lot of dumb stuff. Nothing illegal, just mostly said things I probably shouldn't be saying. You know what I mean? So anyways, I moved on from that. And then I had the Yellow City Comedy here, which was like soul and in that go right there. And we had a good time. But then I was falling apart because, again, I guess these withdrawals and getting my life straightened out.
Yeah.
And then I'm editing. Before AI didn't edit AI edits my videos. Back and
cool.
forth. Yeah, it does it for me. It's
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
cool.
It makes it so much easier. But at the time, my computer kept crashing. It was just like I would edit because at the time it took me 8 hours to edit, so it would be really draining.
Yeah.
But no, and now it takes me like 3 hours.
That's not bad.
I know, but what threw me off was my computer would crash. It would crash, and it crashed twice, so I would lose hours of editing. And I got to the point where I was like, I need to stop. You know what I mean? And then I don't know, man. I was just kind of falling apart at that time because I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but I was just losing my mind in a way. Yeah. So I took a break. I was like, I'm gonna take a long break real quick, and thank y'all guys. You know what I mean? And then I remember this, and I'll never in my life forget this. I went to, this was like a week before my vacation. I stopped posting on my podcast because I just wanted to take a break. I went to the 806 and I never forgot about this. I went to the 806. I'm sad. I'm gloomy. I'm just like worn out and tired. And then it was open mic. I was like, you know what? It's open mic. I'm going to go check out open mic. I've been going to open mics for like a year and a half already at this time. And then I saw, you were the first one there. You were the first one. And I'll never forget. You're like, guys, can I play a song for y'all? And then you started playing Bakersfield, and you had talked about Bakersfield and XYZ. You have musician family, and I remember that, dude. And I was like, I don't know what it was, man, but it touched me. Like I was happy. Oh wow! And then after that, Danny Seeger. I hope she's doing good. I don't know. I haven't heard from her, but she started playing. She did poetry and she sang a song, and then it just brought me like happiness. You know what I'm saying? And then obviously after that. Then the comedians came on, you know what I mean? And then this is where like Javier Zamora was there. Javier Zamora and then like Taylor Zorns and Karen Kurd and all those guys were all there, dude. And they all just kind of crushed it that night, you know what I mean? And this is, that's when I I got real happy. You know what I'm saying? That changed my life that day, and that's ever since then. I try to. That's why I was like, you know what? I'm gonna change my podcast to more of like local community to help these guys grow. And then over time, once I started doing that, I started meeting a lot of different people. So I met wrestlers, fighters, you know what I'm saying, more musicians, more comedians. Because then after my vacation, that's kind of when I started like, you know what, I'm going to try to build my community very differently. And I'm going to try to build everybody else's community so they can start getting more attraction and business. And that's kind of why I started this. This isn't necessarily about, it's not for cloud. It's not for like, you know, no, what I mean is for me. I'm not trying to be I'm not trying to be like Joe Rogan. I'm not trying to be this. I'm not trying to be like the top dog. I'm trying to get to the point where everybody's heard and seen, you know what I mean, with their talents. That's why I tell people, like, if you're a musician, you're a talent, you're an artist, you know how to paint, draw. If you're a poet, if you're a comedian, if you're a business owner, you own a business and you want to know if you anything that does good for the world, I try to bring on here. And that's why I have a very diverse podcast. But it started off at the 806, and it started off with you, and it started off with the comedians, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's why and now I've been going for a while, so of course that's why I tell people like my favorite musicians is you know, obviously Danny, and then obviously Benny, because like she's been good music, and then you. And I've always told the girls, like, just letting y'all know, y'all are my favorites, but Remy, he's the one.
Oh wow. It's so, I mean, it's really kind of you. Danny and Benny are much better than I am. They are incredible.
They were touring, dude. I was like, that's what's up.
Yeah, they're great.
But one of the things that I'm trying to do, and next year I'm going to hammer it down, because I'm going to change, because of course this is every studio has a different set. Like it's a professional set, but mine's more of like a stage. I'm trying to think outside the box and do things very differently. You know what I mean? I want people to know who I am, but as a, you know what I'm saying, a different person. So yeah, dude, that's why I try to do live performances on here, and I've had good feedback on it. But I'm trying to build Amarillo, and I'm trying to build every musician that's sitting here, you know what I mean? But I cannot thank you, and I can't thank Yellow City Comedy and the rest of 806 and all the talent out there to kind of bring me to where I'm at now. You know what I mean? That's why that's why I'm like very excited that you're here, and I'm very thankful that you were one of the ones that kind of brought me out of a spot that I needed to get out to move forward. You know what I mean? Yeah. So then after that, that's when I came back from my vacation, that's when I started like, you know, all right, how am I going to grow this podcast? Then I met Clemente, and then obviously I met a lot of people out there. Benny finally got on here. Danny got on here. Now I got you on here. So that's why I really appreciate the things that you do. You know what I'm saying? And I'm very thankful that you're here. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I wanted to tell you. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm happy, man. I'm happy for you. It means a lot to me that something that I did made you feel good and helped. That's my hope. You know? So I'm glad, man. I'm glad you're doing better. So
that's why I like the song Bakersfield.
Yeah.
I love that song. That's like one of my favorite songs.
Oh man. And that's like, I love it too, because like that's the song all about starting over. You know, and
is it?
Yeah, it's about, you know, this like idea of, you know, I'm gonna leave where I'm at right now because I came over here to try to do something with this person, and clearly it's not working. So I guess I'll go back home and I'll start over. Is what it's about. And you know, I've learned, you know, in the 35 years of my life, like I've just now learned like that it's not impossible to start over, and there's no age limit to starting over. And you know, it sounds kind of like that's what happened. Is you were like, man, I am not okay. You took a minute and kind of like refresh and like, all right, let's go. You know what I mean? And that's huge. And the fact that you have any sort of kind thing to say about something I've done as being a part of what maybe motivated that is really, really nice.
No, and I really do appreciate you, and especially the comedians. That's why I'm going to do a project with them on hopefully in, you know, January, February. I think they got booked in January, but starting like, you know, after that, I really want to do something with them, and I wanted to do something with musicians, but off cameras, I'll tell you. But
Sure.
no, Remy, I on the serious, man, I really appreciate, you know what I'm saying? You know,
Yeah.
like, thank you for being here. You know what I mean? And
Well,
thank you
dude,
for doing.
we
you know,
appreciate you. I'm not going to speak for the comedians because those heathens, I don't want to be attached to them. But no.
That was a joke, right?
Yeah, no, I love those guys.
hold on. Oh, wait.
There we go. Cool. Yeah. I've you know, me and Clemente, we kind of, he started a little bit before me. But we were doing mics, obviously doing different things, but I remember watching him come up at 806 and then to see that kind of grow and it's evolved into this new thing with, you know, different people. And, but I remember, you know, Colin and Clemente and even Kevin to a degree. Kevin was doing some stuff up there too for a bit early on, but you know, that's just been, those guys are cool. But anyway, I'm not here to blow smoke up their ass. I was here to tell you, we appreciate you because you've created this really like cool platform for people to just come and like chat and, you know, do stuff that it's a different avenue than being just like on a stage or at a restaurant trying to get people to pay attention to you. Podcasting is super I think is super important for creators. And you know, we have a couple of I work with Thule to do this thing called Amarillo Rocks, which it's been kind of on a break lately, but between that and a lot of the music stuff that happens there, and and I was telling you this off camera, I was like, between that and with you, what you're doing, you've given, at the very least, a lot of those comedians a place to kind of show not just their jokes, but just who they are as people. And that's what makes people like comedians, is when you kind of get to know them and you understand. But you also, I saw you had, oh God, one of those, I can't remember his name, the wrestler. You had him on the show a couple episodes ago. Yeah. And all these different people that you've had on, you know, you're giving a platform to people who otherwise, you know, wouldn't. None of us we're not super rich, and we don't have a lot of notoriety on the other side of 6th Street over there by Polk Street. You know, those folks in that neighborhood, they don't know who we are. People on the south side of town, you know, you know, they don't know who we are. Yeah. You know, the folks on Route 66 out near the 806 and High Fidelity and Golden Light, there are a lot of folks out there that might know who I am. But, you know, at large, Amarillo doesn't know who I am. And so, not that I really want, I mean, it may be cool, but like to have a place to come and just like hang out and talk and riff and you engage in conversation and that's a really important part of podcasting. And so, yeah, we're grateful for you, man. I'm glad at the risk of belaboring the phrase, I'd say a whole lot, but I'm very glad you're here. Yeah. And I'm glad that you do this thing, because it's really cool. And it's, it's DIY, but it's like quality, and that's good. Like that's, a lot of people can start podcasts, but like the amount of work that you put into it is it's not unnoticed, or it's not. Yeah, it is noticed. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you good, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, dude.
No, yeah, man. So, yeah, well, y'all keep doing y'all's thing. All of y'all, everybody that's watching, man. I want to see y'all, keep blossoming. You know what I mean? But Remy, so my last question to you, man, is, what's next for you, man? What are you gonna do now? What's in the future? What do you see yourself doing? What's up?
So we didn't even really get into, and I don't believe we have the time to, but I would love to come back. I am doing stuff with Native Crowds for sure. Releasing some new songs. I'm finishing up a record for that. Hopefully do some shows out of town. We've mostly just played in Amarillo, and it's not like I hate it, but also I think at some point, if you play enough in your hometown, eventually they're like, yeah, I've already seen it. And they're, I was watching the episode you did with Nikki Manos.
Oh, do you know him?
I don't know him.
Dude, oh wow. I've told him about you.
Yeah, I got to that part in the episode. I don't know the guy, but he was talking about in LA, like the idea of gigging in LA, it's like if you play there enough, eventually people are like, it's a lot to ask of them to keep coming to a show if they've already seen you.
Yeah.
That's true anywhere.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
So doing that, trying to get out of Amarillo a bit and play around. But also, dude, for me personally, I think what's probably going to take up a lot of my time is I play bass for a country guy named Travis Roberts as well, and I tour manage him.
Oh wow. Okay.
So, and he's signed to a label in Nashville, and so there's talks of next year, his record's supposed to come out, and with that, probably a lot of travel to promote that.
Nice.
So between my stuff with Native Crowds and then the same hosting 806, and I occasionally run sound at Golden Light, and then this tour stuff with Travis, it's keeping me busy, or it could keep me busy next year. But the hope too, man, is I just want to be able to, I would love to see something take off with Native Crowds. We had this thing with this podcast it was a Twitch channel called John Breaks Bad News, where this guy calls in, you pay him and he calls someone and he breaks bad news to them. And he called BJ and he was just like, hey, you're too old to be in a pop punk band. And he said a bunch of other stuff. And he asked what the band was, and he played our song on his Twitch channel, and we've just been regularly getting followers each day, and that helped a lot. But it's one of those things that also pop punk emo is such a niche genre that I don't necessarily think it'd be cool if it took off in a massive way, but I don't know if it ever would. So for me, I'm just trying to get the record done, get it out, start writing new stuff. I have 3 albums I want to do to tell this whole story I'm trying to tell. And then I don't know what's after that, but I just also want to just be able to be content with that stuff and spend, when I'm not doing all of that, really try to be present with my partner and grow that thing. And, I love her a lot, and I'm very grateful for her, and it makes singing and writing these sad songs really, really tough.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel them that much anymore. But yeah, between Travis and Crowds, it's just keep doing the same thing, playing music when I can, and I want to produce stuff too. I've been trying to work with Benny. I want to get Benny in a studio and
she was telling me about
work
that.
with her.
She was telling me she was like I love to. She wants to record her music. I told her she can use my stuff. It's just it won't be super professional.
Yeah.
But I told her, I was like, you can use my stuff and it'll be something.
Yeah.
But it won't be super amazing like Remy.
Yeah.
So that's good though that you told me that. Now I hope it works out for her because she's super good. Yeah.
There's some producing stuff I'd like to do. There's stuff with her, and then this guy Shelby, who plays at open mic sometimes. He's got some stuff I'd like to do with, and maybe do some more stuff of mine. And I don't know. I really like music. And I've put a lot of time into it. For me to just give it up right now, I just can't. But so that's, I think, what's next. I might be in a play. I don't know. I've been wanting to do acting for a while.
And you should, yeah.
But it's just having the time. But I think I just want to try to live my life as fully as I can, because I very well couldn't have, and I get to. So it's cool.
Okay, Remy. Well, I appreciate you being on here, dog. And I really, like I said, man, you've done a lot for all of us, 806 Coffee and everything, and I do appreciate you, man. So thank you for coming on here, man.
Thanks for having me.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, let's go home.
Yeah.
Final episode of the year, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry it was so long.
No, it's
so sorry.
perfect.
Sorry, everyone. Thank you. I know it's a courtesy clap, but it's fine. I'm so sorry.
Go home, everybody. Remy.
Native Crowds, all one word on everything. Look me up.
Oh wait, real quick. Okay, who do you want to shout out?
So my band, Native Crowds, you can find us on everything. It's all one word. We're on Blue Sky, Threads, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of that. If you want to follow me personally and get all the sad shit, you follow me at Remy Todd, RemyTodd. I'm on everything with that. And come catch a show. I don't know if this will be out before, but we're playing New Year's Eve at 806. If it's not out before,
it'll be out before.
Okay, cool. We'll be at the 806 for New Year's Eve. And yeah, just keep an eye out. Go to a local show, not just mine. Go support. There's so much shit to do in Amarillo. Like, what are you doing?
It's true.
Like, I'm not talking. We're cool, but you bitch, go watch some live music. Like, get off your ass. Quit watching 1,000-Pound Sisters or whatever you're watching on Netflix or HBO, and go see a goddamn show. What are we doing with our lives if we're just gonna watch Netflix all day? Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna watch WWE when it comes to Netflix, but I'm so stoked for that. Well, I would talk wrestling with you all day. But yeah, go look up me anywhere. Also, again, we went really long. I'm so sorry, but yeah,
I went along. All right, guys.
cool.
Really,
Yeah, you want it long.
No,
Sorry. Sorry. Now I'm happy.
Colin,
Yeah.
he wants to be a comedian.
Yeah. The caffeine's getting to me now. Sorry.
All right, yeah. So, anyways, I appreciate you, man. All right, man. We'll see you next year, man. I'll have you
Yes.
on. Love to have everybody I had on this year. All
Yeah,
man.
I'd love to come back.
Yeah. So, I got an announcement to make later on, guys. So, thank you, Remy. Be out, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, man.
All right.
Oh, there's a lot of shop. Oh my gosh. Oh no.
Peace out, guys. See you later.
Cool. This song is called Bakersfield. Now your hearts break all around me, and the tears fall on everybody's cheeks. The way we loved was so empty. My eyes were dry when you left me, and then a year blasted deep, and it ruptured my arteries. Now it seems all of the strings inside my heart have been torn clean, and I thought if I had moved and found myself closer to you, I thought that this might fix us. Everything I know, so that I wouldn't feel alone. Now you're telling me we're through, and your emotions seem concealed, and I don't know if this was real. But if you can't tell me how you feel, I guess I'll go back to Bakersfield. And your emotions seem concealed, and I don't know if this was real. Well, if you can't tell me how you feel, I guess I'll go back to Bakersfield. Go back to Bakersfield. I've always needed somebody else to make me feel good about myself. I thought things were going so well, but you were so good at hiding tells. Frustrations covered in the clouds. We tried to scream over all of the sounds. Well, it seemed all of my self-doubt was only tiring you out. And I thought if I had moved and found myself closer to you, I thought that this might fix us. I guess I'll go back to square one. My mind and heart are on the run. Try again beneath the California sun. And your emotions seem concealed, and I don't know if this was real. Well, if you can't tell me how you feel, I guess I'll go back to Bakersfield. And your emotions seem concealed, and I don't know if this was real. You can't tell me how you feel, I guess I'll go back to Bakersfield. And I guess I'll go back to Bakersfield. Your emotions seem concealed, and I don't know if this was real. Well, if you can't tell me how you feel, I guess I'll go back to Bakersfield. Mhm.